Another important day in the markets and for PMP, folks. This is a special day. But let's get started. Couldn't save the market yesterday, Jensen Wong, but can Pump and Powell do it today? We got some earnings to cover, nothing really major. China still strong. You want to talk? You want to talk enterprise hardware? Well, I'm bringing on Matt Bryson from Wedbush Securities. He can talk about all your hot stocks. It's Wednesday. It's pre-market prep. Let's get it started.
The volatility right now is really incredible.
Wow, look at that consolidation on the upper right chart.
You know what we've seen this earnings season? Some of these expected moves get even more violent. And this is why I have switched my strategy 10 years ago. And if you're chasing, you're in trouble.
All right, well, you don't call it a double bottom until it's a double bottom, but Monday and Tuesday's lows matching in the S&P. See if that happened in your stocks. Caught a bid overnight, traded up 14 and a half handles, 56.8375. Not much resistance up there until yesterday's high. The buck on the rebound here, still in a quiet consolidation phase after that big sell-off, up 39 cents at 103.29. TLT, quiet ranges here, down a nickel, 90.66. USO pretty much flat, 72.15. GLD got a 280 handle on it, up 31 cents at 280.27. The laggard, silver, that's flat 30.88. And Bitcoin starting to join the rally too. Looks like those futures need to clear 85,000. We're up $1,825, just under 84K here in the Bitcoin futures. Well, Dennis, were you disappointed yesterday in Jensen Wong?
I don't know if I was disappointed. I think the market was disappointed, though. And let's bring Christian into this conversation here as well.
Morning.
We had run up really into the report a couple days. We sold off yesterday. We sold off the day ahead of it. But really, when we get perspective here, we were at 104. We ran up to 122, 124 in the pre-market. I think it was on Monday. So, the market was a little bit excited coming into this event. I think expectations were like, oh, Nvidia is going to say some really cool stuff and maybe, take this market up to the next level. And that really didn't happen. They talked lots of cool stuff. Very technical, though. I tuned in for a few minutes. It's the same thing last time. It's so technical that it's, too technical for the average listener to even understand. So I think a lot of listeners probably tune it out after a little bit too. Lots of collaborations, lots of stocks mentioned. The last time we saw that, we saw lots of those other stocks popping. This was not the case. We had lots of mentions of all those same companies. They did not get the pop. There wasn't a lot of pops happening from other stocks from Jensen Wong mentioning them. So I'd say overall, the market was probably a little bit disappointed. Christian, what did you think?
Good morning, guys. I agree. I don't think that there was any groundbreaking announcements. I did listen to it, and I had it on in the background. It was long. I think it went on for about 2 hours. I don't understand. I don't know how the guy does it. There's no teleprompter, from what I understand. He's just going off for 2 hours, which is impressive. But in terms of products, they did announce that they've got new things coming out, but it doesn't sound like anything is coming out right away. I think they talked about next year for one product, and then they talked about the second half of next year. That's a long time away for me, and that's a really good observation. They mentioned a whole bunch of different companies. They mentioned GM was I think one of the first companies that was mentioned. And the stock just barely moved, so it doesn't have the same oomph as some of these previous meetings. And yeah, the price action was very lackluster. Not much really going on. And I think watching what happens today, which once the kind of all the analysts come out and everybody mentions that, and I guess their conference still goes on for a couple days, but that was the big speech. So I would pay. I think I'm worried that this thing starts to kind of move down for growth stocks because there's just not anything that is that groundbreaking. So I agree with your sentiment there.
Well, why don't we just kind of, say it is what it is, what it was said on yesterday's show. It's like the market has moved on from Nvidia. move. I mean, we can talk about it all we want. Nvidia had an incredible run. It's a big stock for the future, big stock in AI. But there's so much else going on right now that him getting up and talking about chips that are coming out in 2006 or 2026 and 2027 and how AI is changing the world, that market information, well, we'll worry about that in 2026, 2027. But the question is can it keep up? It's had tremendous growth. The growth is, it's hard to keep up that kind of growth. And they did come out with these predictions, but I mean, we got other things to talk about than in this Nvidia, and other things are going to move the market. And we got a big event today with the Fed.
I mean, this is where we're at, is individual companies are not driving the bus here, at least in this market right now. The AI story is not driving the bus. It continues to remain Trump, and it will continue to always remain the Fed. So let's go into Fed speak here, because we've obviously got a big Fed announcement here today. Obviously expecting the Fed to stay the course. We don't expect any sudden, change in policy here today, but it's going to be the language that the Fed is very interested in. And I know, Christian, you are going to show your Fed tool here and talk about, where we are with, potential rate reductions, but definitely probably not happening today.
Yeah, so it's kind of the calm before the Powell a bit today in terms of overall markets. But when you look at the Fed fund futures, when you look at the pricing for that, it's kind of interesting. Well, first of all, nothing is expected for today, but I think everybody wants to listen to what Powell says. He does his press conference starts at 2:30. He usually goes on for about 45 to 55 minutes, depending on the Q&A and how many questions that he wants to answer. And I think there's gonna be a lot of questions about has inflation come down? What metrics of inflation are coming down? And then, of course, the other half of it is the unknown about tariffs and how that will affect things. But one of the observations that I've noticed is about a week ago, Fed fund futures were, if you go to that May meeting, May 7th is the next meeting thereafter, and there was about close to a 40% chance of a cut being priced in. That has dropped considerably. It's all the way down to 16. So
Wow.
even though the Fed has been in a quiet period, it's been moving, and it's been moving down. And just yesterday, it was in the 20s. So I don't know what's causing it to move so far down, but it's almost like the market is trying to adjust to cut not happening in May, but maybe in June. You go out to June 18th, which is the following meeting after that, and there's a 52% chance.
I think we just continue to, I honestly think I've said this already. I think that he's going to say today is there's uncertainty with what the tariffs, there's uncertainty with where Trump is going with the tariffs. And so with so much uncertainty, it's probably hard for them to just come in and say, yes, now is the time to start lowering interest rates. Think about the fight that they had for 2 years trying to get inflation to come back down. And, to go ahead now and start talking about lowering rates when you have potentially inflationary tariffs all over the place, when you have a lot of unknowns. I don't think it's Powell's style. I don't think he's listening to the market. He has never cared about the market as much as other Fed officials either. So I think they're going to just say more of the same. How the market interprets that is going to be the question, but I don't know if it's going to interpret it great. I think the market would really like him saying something like, we think we've got an inflation beat here, and sooner than later we're going to be cutting rates. I think the market would really like to hear that. I don't think he's going to say it today.
You mentioned uncertainties. First of all, we don't know. I mean, we do know. I mean, April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs are going in until further notice. That's the information we have. The data that we got, the PPI and the CPI data that we got last week, meaningless, right? I mean, because if the tariff, they have no way to account. So not only do we not know what the tariff and the official impact is going to be, it's not going to filter through in the data for several months. So,
yeah.
Paul, I mean, there's a lag time. There's a lag time on everything. So, to think that even, even the data that comes out in April reflecting the March, that might not be accurate. Maybe we're going to have to wait till May and June. And then all of a sudden, Kapowie, boom, we go away from that 2% target, boom, that things are out of control. I, I mean, maybe September, did you get your first rate cut? I mean, and Dennis, you made a great point about how long it took them to fight inflation. I mean, you had different circumstances. Maybe they were going to start cutting in 2020. Had a little thing called the pandemic. They opened up the floodgates. There's always different situations that come in, but you just got to take into account how long it takes to show up in the data, and that's the point we're at right now.
That's a great point. I mean, we won't know for probably a couple months. But if you look outside of tariffs, I know that that's the headline grabber. But we are seeing inflation come down across the board. When you look at things, and yeah, the PPI was a nice move in progress. But I mean, I know that for whatever reason, the egg prices is getting is getting all the headlines. But I mean, the egg prices are sharply down. Crude is down. Government spending, which kind of, not to be political, but kind of got us in this place with the inflation. That we know that the government spending, which is a huge cause of inflation, that's coming down. So, I mean, yes, the tariffs are a concern, but if you look outside the tariffs, you bring down government spending like this, inflation is dropping.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you too, Christian. I think, considering fiscal policy here, and it's going to be a lot more conservative probably under a Trump administration, is going to be a hit to prices as well. So that's a very good point. So I think there's going to be a place here where there's going to be aggressive Fed cuts coming, but they've always been data dependent, and that's not going to be showing up in the data yet. So I think today might be some disappointment, but when you're looking out to June, that sounds right to me. Unless the tariffs really cause, unknown inflation here and the tariff war escalates, I think the other points you're making are very good. And I think maybe the traders are actually getting this right, thinking a June cut.
I'm going to say something here, and I hope I don't get egg on my face here saying it, but
Nice, Joel. We
what,
see what you did there.
what if, and this is not a bullish or bearish statement on Bitcoin, but just think about all the excess money that was created by Bitcoin.
Well, that's what that caused some inflation in there as well. And that excess money really, hasn't been taking off here as of late. Some of that is coming back in. So you could even argue that some of this excess money, because, Peter Schiff argument, for what Joel is getting at here, is that you basically created nothing. You created something from nothing, which is a pretty good point. I mean, it's just like there's a coin, we're putting some digits, we'll put value to it, and traders will bid that up and it'll be worth money. So, I mean, there was money created from crypto, from nothing. You think about companies, well, there's money that goes into all that. Yes, when people launch a crypto coin, it costs some money to launch the thing, figure it all out. But I mean, there's been a lot of wealth created from crypto, which probably led to some of the inflation that we experienced over the last 3 to 4 years. But it's not like crypto's been flying and going. We've always said Bitcoin is just like a NASDAQ stock. Trades like a NASDAQ stock, trades with the NASDAQ. I know everybody thinks it's an alternative asset, and that was the case probably for the first 10 years of creation. But since everybody in the masses are in it now it just trades along with the NASDAQ, and it trades as a NASDAQ stock. So there was some wealth created, Joel, and that probably led to the inflation. I would argue that in the last year or two, though, there hasn't been more wealth created from crypto, probably wealth lost.
But you could also argue too, and then we'll get, then we'll move on from the inflation topic. Yeah. But stock prices are down 10%. Many other stocks are down. That's also a look at what inflation is doing too.
There's a lot of so bottom line, just to sum it up, even though tariffs are coming and tariffs can be somewhat inflationary, there's a lot of deflationary pressures in this market, that are naturally occurring here right now. So, which would lead the Fed to eventually probably cut rates. So maybe they will talk about that stuff. Maybe the market will be happy with that kind of stuff. Let's just do technical thoughts here on the S&P going into the Fed announcement. I know that's difficult to do, but we had Kramer proclaiming that the 550 was probably the bottom on the S&P. He proclaimed that right when the SPY was up at 569, and we proceeded to just lose 100 S&P handles after he said it yesterday. We know sometimes he has bad luck with his calls. Thoughts here. Are you looking at buying the dip on some stocks here, Christian? If you think the Fed's eventually going to lower rates, if you think maybe we're going to get past, all this tariff stuff and, it's going to be, just noise in the background eventually, are you looking at buying any stocks on the dip?
I mean, it depends on what stocks. I mean, I don't know why you would call the call the bottom.
Because he needs to get people watching. Like it's
it's
we know
ratings,
CNBC.
right?
It's ratings. They
Yeah.
honestly, sometimes let's give Kramer a break because sometimes probably his producers in the background are probably saying, "Hey, we need a headline grabber. We need something. Make a bold call here." I'm sure they're pushing for that because they need to grab those headlines. So. Anyways, that's what he was 2 days ago, which was the worst time call ever. But yeah, side tangent. Back to the question at hand. Depends on the stock, you said. Or
yeah,
sector.
I think right now, value stocks are actually up. They're up. The VTV ETF is up 2% year to date, where growth has really lagged. So, I mean, I think that's for now is where investors want to go. They don't want to go back into these expensive growth stocks. They haven't really done much, the growth stocks. And so I think that like what I'm trying to do is be very selective in that group, go after quality names in the growth group, but I'm underweight growth and I'm more overweight value. So yeah, I mean, I've been buying things. I mean, especially, we've been talking a lot about international and, copper continues to go higher, which to me is a good sign for emerging markets. Copper's up again this morning. So I don't know how long this rotation, we talked about it on the show yesterday that, Bank of America Fund Managers survey, which showed a huge allocation to Europe. So I remain long some things like Deutsche Bank. But I also think that the rally in the rally in some of the European names, are running its course. So I like buying the dip, in international right now.
Yeah, me too.
But in terms of US, I'm still looking at, some of those things that, they're, I bought a little bit of Chevron yesterday. I like what's going on in the commodity plays. Like FCX has been doing well, Freeport McMoRan with copper going up. So that's kind of where I'm at, is to kind of pick at some of these areas in international and, just kind of just pay attention to what's kind of rising right now. And it's more value stocks. And I know I talked about insurance stocks yesterday and that type of thing, but I think that's where the trade is right now.
I got some S&P levels that are just jumping out of my skin, but
Sure.
I'll give those later on. But let's move on.
We'll give
We
one
could
level. Give us one level on the S&P. What number are you looking at? You can't tease us
I'm
like
not
that.
giving. Well, the most important one is the double bottom at 56.50 from yesterday. That absolutely has to be defended, because if you take that out, boom, I don't know, you get one of these, okay, well, we're not going right to 5,600, but it was you had the good day on Monday, the Bears came back on Tuesday, rah, rah, they defended that level. It looks like, Dennis, you talk about, moving, making a bottom or moving away from it. Well, we did. We made the bottom last week when I was gone. We moved away from it, and we're just trying to get, if we could just hold that level and calm down for a few days, then
That's what we
yeah.
were saying over the weekend. That's what we were saying last week. Me and Christian were talking about this, and the Brentster was in here too, saying the markets can go up if Trump would just calm down, if he would just go golfing. And that's what he did. He went and won his golf tournament over the weekend. He calmed down. The markets got a little bit of lift. That's what the markets need, is a break from the relentless war on the world. That's what the markets need.
Okay, that's a pretty good way to put it. I'll let you put.
So we do have some earnings. Tencent did report earnings last night. They're always a tough one to get the earnings report. I don't know if Brentster's in the background, if he can hunt that down, because it's a tricky one.
I have it.
Obviously
Do
overseas.
you want it?
Give us the numbers for Tencent, and then the trading action is always tough too, because it trades as an ADR over here. But give us the numbers.
Brentster, what did you call these? Ruby eyes or something? RMB. What is it? Come on, Christian. You're our
Renminbis.
resident.
Renminbi.
Renminbis.
Oh, the renminbis. I think I got a few here
The
in my drawer.
renminbi.
Um, well, they renminbis. They had a 591. That beat the estimate of 546 by 8.22%, 33% increase. So same period last year. Quarterly sales good. Everything's good. Trading up a buck 16 here. It does 70.65. So more strength from not the U.S.
The China trade continues to remain hot. I bought another China name yesterday. I mean, these stocks just continue to go. Look at the FXI making new 52-week highs here again. I've been arguing it. Christian's been arguing it. You cannot ignore the international strength. That's why I was buying EEM on the dips there the last few days when we had those dips. It's now blasted off here again. So relative strength in China. And, in the EEM overall has been pretty good.
I'm looking at the 10 cent. I just want to go TC. I always get this symbol wrong.
I get them all backwards too. I hate it. These like 5-letter ADRs, just confusing as
That's
all
a tough
hell.
one.
It's
TG
tough, and the letters don't even make sense. Like it should be like techie. Like why is it not TECHY? Then it could be.
I know.
techie,
That's what I do.
TCEHY. It's like I'm dyslexic or something with the techie.
Stick with the T's and bring up the chart of TIGR, which is obviously a smaller name. That had earnings yesterday in the overnight session, but look at the range that thing had yesterday, and it takes out that previous. I think that's February pivot there. So very strong in TIGR. Futu had earnings about a week prior, and they had a good reaction, but not quite as good. I mean, that's a monster candle that I had yesterday.
The thing with 10 cent, whenever I try to get an N in there, and there's no N.
Yeah, it needs an N. It needs an N.
It needs an N. It needs an end on it. But let's just took a look at the FXI. Boom, moving up. I mean, long ways to go even to get that 50% retracement from last year. K-Web, that's moving along too. Boom, K-Web. Back. That looks look at that bottom chart here. That bottom right chart. I mean,
blow that up. This is what we're talking about. We got decades of underperformance here, and if there is money moving international, these tech stocks are dirt cheap if you believe the numbers, and they don't have the trade war over there, so the tariff war. So I mean, there's a lot of reasons to think that maybe this China rally for once sticks. Now we have been fooled a million times in China rallies where they don't stick, they don't stick, they don't stick. But maybe this is different this time. Maybe it's gonna stick. I don't know, but I'm being fooled in it because I've actually been, I'm probably the heaviest I've been over in Asia, maybe ever now, with my recent buys.
Maybe we should change it from MAGA to, I don't know, MICA, make China great again. Because look at that. Look at the
definitely
moves
helping Asia.
Yeah, definitely have things. All right, so we did some earnings. We did some earnings that were hard to interpret, but these earnings are in American dollars, and they're not good. General Mills here reporting this morning, talking about the uncertain macro environment. I don't know what they're talking about. General Mills here. Let's see what the report is. They beat a buck versus 96. Sales miss 484 versus 496. Expect macroeconomic uncertainty to continue to impact customers in Q4. That leads to some lower guidance. That's not a pretty looking chart in General Mills.
Food stock that everybody was hiding out in a week ago. We warned about this too, that the staple rally, which was absolutely ridiculous, probably wasn't going to hold, and it has come down very quickly. The XLP has come down hard, falling about 5% last week, which is a huge move for staples. But GIS in itself, when you used to get your food stock going from $60 to $67 in 3 days because everybody's worried about their tech stocks and they're buying food. That's your time to sell your food stock. because food stocks don't go up 10% in a week. And now all of a sudden it's like the hangover, and it's like people are in there hiding. It's like, wow, I'm losing on this too. Well, you're not listening to pre-market prep. Don't chase food stocks ever.
There we go. What are you guys buying here? Betty Crocker, Pillsbury, Bisquick, Check Mix,
There's lots of good
Gardell.
stuff in there. These are recessionary stocks too. So if we do go into a full recession here, this can be a play. But if so, and maybe that's what maybe people were thinking a week ago. It's like, I got to own my General Mills because nobody's ever going to go out to a restaurant again. They're going to have no money, and they're going to have to buy all their stuff and cook it at home. Well, that might have been a little premature. So again, I'll just say what's on the screen. Don't chase food stocks.
What do you do with bugles besides eat them? What do you do with them?
Do you blow the little horn when you get out of the thing, like Nicola?
No, Christian, come on. Someone in the chat help me out. What do you do with bugles before you eat them? You put them on your. I don't know if my finger fit on my fingers anymore, but you make long fingernails. Yeah.
Do they? Oh,
yeah. I don't know. They're probably because of inflation. They're probably making them smaller, right? But yeah, there we go. Bugles, Lucky Charms. Okay, let's look at this technically. Wow, we've already given back half of the move. For some reason, I'll go ahead of the low of the move in February. We can give you a level. I like double tops and double bottoms. So if you were worried about getting it, or you wanted this stock at 57.50, that spots the pair of lows from February 19th and February 20th. Well, you should have been out there in the pre-market because you got the 57.10. So you bounced $1.20 off that level. This stock will move all around. They do. I like that level. I'll give that a 3-star, 57.50. I think the low of the day could be in here. General Mills coming back on the upside. You got a ways to go. Gap fill at 60.24. So there is your rundown for General Mills.
I would say it's 55, and I can't buy till it's 55. Isn't there a song about that? I can't buy 55.
Isn't it Drive?
Yes, obviously, Joel.
Okay.
Play on words. Yes.
Okay, you can.
Yes. Great song.
Okay. How about if you've been looking for bargains lately, Dennis? You can't talk about the what was that stock you hated because they started getting nicer stuff? Big Lots.
Big Lots.
Yeah.
And it went down. I knew it. I told you on the Big Lots, as soon as I couldn't go in there and buy my crushed box of aspirin for half price, the writing was on the wall. People went there for deals. It was when the skid fell over because the forklift driver didn't know what he was doing and knocked over all the pallets, and they all fell over and crushed the boxes. They'd still sell it. They'd send that stuff to Big Lots, and Big Lots would sell it for half the price. And you know what? They cleaned up the stores, and they lost their way. Everybody liked the scrappy, felt like a yard sale in there. Everybody liked that feel of those stores. Once they cleaned them all up, started selling nicer stuff, it was over. Big Lots. Ollie's, completely. I've never been in an Ollie's, so I can't really tell you the experience. You been in an Ollie's?
I think it's Ollie's, isn't it?
Ollie's?
Yeah.
Ollie's. Have you been to an Ollie's, Christian?
I can't say I have. So yeah, that makes it tough when you haven't actually been in the store or not familiar with it. It's
I know.
Makes it tough to have a strong opinion on it.
Yeah.
I always thought it was Ollie's Bargain Basement, but it's Ollie's Bargain Outlet Holdings. I don't know where I got the basement in there. Okay. I think guidance saved this stock. It was inline earnings at $1.19. Slight miss on the sales. Comparable sales up a little bit. But the guidance 2.56 versus 2.586 versus estimate of 2.572, a 300 million share buyback. Oh, what? I guess maybe if this is a smaller stock, this stock has been in a heck of a range. And I'm just going to look at these cluster of highs here, and I'll just say, did we get to 103.50 yet? No, we didn't. Look at all. I mean, there's a seller, a concentrated seller here in the 103 handle. We're traded up 294. I think if you want this rally to continue, you got to get out and knock out those sellers at let's call it 103.25 for Ollie's Basement Holdings. S&Ps just selling off a little bit here off that pre-market high of 56.89.50, but still green on the session ahead of the big day. Um, do you want to go to is what
Well, there's
is
Williams Sonoma and Signet were the last two that were on my
okay?
list.
Let's finish those up.
Let's do Signet. Signet's always one that moves 20% up or 20% down on every earnings. You just don't know the direction. It always moves big. Big gap down last earnings report. Now you're getting in, I think it was the last earnings report. Actually, it had two gap downs. It had a gap down and then it had a gap down again. Well, it's gapping back up. This stock just gaps on earnings reports. It's what it does. Up 15%. What are the numbers there? You got them?
Let's go to. No, that's okay. I should have. You were talking about.
I got them. 662. They made 662?
No way.
In the quarter? Holy cow. I guess because it's like December and that's when you buy your girlfriend or your wife all the jewelry and stuff. So that's always the big quarter is the December quarter because they're seeing the full fiscal year. Here's interesting for you. What a range. They're seeing 2026 earnings. I'm talking 2025. They see 731 to 910. Estimates were at $9. So they just went like this. They said, we don't know what the hell's going on with tariffs and all this stuff. We're going to make the goalpost this wide, and we're sure we can kick the ball through it. Unbelievable. The stock is actually rallying on this. So I'm actually surprised. The numbers don't look, this guidance doesn't look that great at all to me. So more of a relief rally maybe than everything. One of those examples where when the stock's straight down for 3 months into the earnings report, they can say anything and it's be okay. But this is not a great report, in my opinion.
Maybe some guys have a wife and a girlfriend, and they bought them both stuff there, Dennis.
Maybe. That's the kind of market that we're in here right now. You know, it's a little volatile, so they're doubling down on the jewelry purchases here. Yeah.
It's very hard to give technicals on this one, but I mean, I just think it gapped down and went down. It gapped down and went down. Now it's gapping up. So $8 is a big move. To get just the most recent high here in February. If you want a nice target that is away from where we're trading, 58.94. That would be another target. You haven't come that. You've just barely traded after that. And we don't have the earnings yet here in Williams Sonoma. So do we want to?
Really? They're not out yet? It's up $4. Is this ahead of the report? Let's short that right now.
I knew you were. I should have said anything. Let me look.
You give me that lead like that?
Don't do
I
your
think
own.
you're right. I don't think they've reported yet. I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't short it ahead of the reports. Usually when they're running them up there ahead of the report, somebody knows something.
Yeah.
It's up $4. It hasn't reported. I don't have it either. Do you guys got verification that they haven't reported? I do not see the numbers either. That's interesting. Christian, how are you playing this Williams Sonoma? You want to go short with me right now ahead of the report? They're giving us a 4-point lead. That's kind of fun.
Is it today?
I think it is, isn't it? I had it on the schedule.
It says before open today. So yeah, you're right. I mean, this has been one of the stronger names in in that housing group. So this has been a tough group. Let's see if the consumer is still out there spending money on things like that. Of course, it's not just Williams Sonoma; it's also a couple other brands too. So this is going to be an interesting one for the consumer because it has been a strong company.
Somebody thinks they're beaten. That's up 2.5%. What's the expected move? Do you have the expected move, Christian? You look at that real quick.
I'll have to calculate it.
Okay.
This is, I'll tell you, folks. Dennis has a lot of different strategies, which he'll explain more to you in our new product. But this is one of his more unreliable strategies.
Yeah. You give me a 4-point lead. You haven't reported yet. It closed at 172.28. You guys are buying up 2.5% of the report. That's a 4-point lead. If the expected move's like 10 points, that's half the expected move.
So
then I sell it.
It's about 11%.
It's
11%. Oh boy. Okay, well that could really run you over. It was 5%. I don't know at 11% because we always think about the expected move. I usually have a rule of thumb. When they give me half the expected move ahead of the report, I usually take the lead. Sometimes the insider, though, gets you. You get that insider trader, man. I lose a lot of money to those insider traders.
We'll fast forward. If he shorts it and it goes up, it will be those insiders. They knew. They
Yeah.
ran me over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it if
If
it
it goes
goes
down, it was
down
dumb
and they
traders.
miss, and you're like,
And that's
you
the whole thing.
man, you always have to short a stock up
Well,
4.5
that's it.
bucks.
We don't know if the buyers here are just excited or they're informed. If they're insider traders that are buying here right now, then I'm going to lose. If they're just dummies, then I'm going to win. So we have to ask, who's on the bid of World Sonoma at 176? Are you an insider or are you just a dummy? That's what I want to know. Because if you're a dummy, I'll short it right now.
Okay, all
If
right.
you're an insider, I ain't touching it.
Let's talk
176
real
bidder, come
stocks.
forward.
Let's talk real stocks with the real guest. Matt Bryson, covering enterprise software over there at Wedbush Securities. And I guess some analysts have a busy quarter, and then other analysts have a really busy quarter. Good morning to you. Just before we get to a ton of individual stocks that we talk about on this show all the time, just give us your big macro outlook for this volatile sector.
It's kind of a crazy time right now. So I'm out at Nvidia GTC right now, and AI demand, AI spending still seem really robust. At the same time, you step away from AI, and there's a whole lot of challenges in terms of what is federal spending going to look like. I heard about concerns about healthcare spending because a lot of government grants are disappearing, and so there's a lot of strength, but at the same time there's areas of weakness that 2-3 months ago weren't a concern. But then even add another layer to that. China, which hadn't been spending much on either consumer electronics or on data center hardware, all of a sudden that economy is coming to life a bit. So it feels like there's a bunch of moving pieces. I still feel good about AI. I still feel good about certain segments like storage, but it kind of depending upon what you're looking at, things could be better, things could be worse.
All right, so let's get the big dog out of the way here. Yesterday, everyone anticipating great things from the keynote speech yesterday in Nvidia. Just no doubt, the stock has been a outstanding performer. Slow down a little bit here. Talk about your rating on the issue, your price target, and what are the key factors moving forward.
Yeah, we're still outperform. I think my price target's 170. So with Nvidia right now, I think from a fundamental perspective, if you talked to me 2 months ago, I would tell you I have some concerns in the near term around how their products are ramping. They were having some technical issues. There was too much heat. The networking wasn't working like they wanted it to. But in February, a lot of that just got resolved. And so 2 months ago, I thought coming into GTC, it was going to be all about, has NVIDIA gotten past its technical challenges? Are they shipping enough product to meet really high expectations? I think they're beyond that. I think what's weighed on the stock has a whole lot more to do with macro concerns, U.S.-China tensions. Could this AI spending that looks really robust, whether it's the hyperscalers telling us they're ramping up their spending, or all these sovereign projects that are where there's a ton of spending, like everything seems really good except for again these questions around politics and geopolitical tensions. But I think that the world is moving towards AI and accelerators, whether it's GPUs or ASICs, as the hardware medium that supports everything. NVIDIA is the leader, and so if you don't have near-term weakness, which we don't, we've got near-term strength, and I mean it looks like as far as we have visibility, so through 2025, there's going to be spend. I feel really good about Nvidia.
What about, and the other competitor, which I've thought could step up and eventually give them some competition, AMD. I mean, the stock has come down significantly. Had a horrible 2024. It started 2024 really well. The stock ramped from 120 to 220, but then gave it all back. And I've been along some AMD, just betting on Lisa Su, saying she'll eventually figure it out here. I've been disappointed though, because obviously the stocks continue to track down. What are your thoughts going forward here, Matt, on AMD?
Yeah, so I think there's a good part to the AMD story, and then I don't know if that's it less good, but a part where there's a few more unknowns. So beginning of 2024, expectations around AMD and AI got really elevated. So people were talking about them doing $10 billion plus in 2024 in AI revenues. And that just didn't come to fruition. Part of it was some challenges they had on the hardware side. Part of it is I think expectations just got overinflated because people were looking at the Taiwanese supply chain, where I think AMD was just making certain they'd have enough supply for customers, not necessarily setting up contracts to what they thought they were going to ship. And they consistently beat on kind of what they gave us for AI targets, just not what the street had. So I think that's why the stocks come down. Moving into 2025, I don't have a whole lot of certainty around what they're going to be able to do on the AI side. I think certainly there has to be another GPU alternative to Nvidia. I think AMD is the best positioned, but does that mean that their share remains relatively constant? Do they lose a little bit because accelerators are gaining traction? So the custom ASICs from Google and Amazon, do they take a little? I don't know. And so I think that's going to remain a question until we start to see momentum one way or the other. Where I think AMD is doing really well is in the PC and server side of things. So you look at their traditional business, they are continually taking share from Intel. They have a better set of products in both portfolios. And I think that when we get to the end of the year, AMD will have delivered upside versus where street expectations are based on them taking share in those areas. And so I think that's really good. I don't know on the AI side where they end up, other than I think that they continue to remain a player, but that's what had fueled the stock. And I think that's where there's a bit more uncertainty still.
Okay, and then last one from me is Intel. This has been very volatile in the last couple of months. Early February, got the big pop from 20 to 26, gave it all back. Now we're running again. Is the Intel turnaround story there?
I'm not ready to say that Intel's gotten past its troubles. So you bring in Lip Bhutan, and other than bringing in someone from TSM who's done it on the fab side, he's probably the best choice for the job, like arguably the best connected man in semis. So when you're thinking about Intel, the two things that Intel has struggled with over the last 3-4 years are, one, they missed out on AI, right? They made the wrong bets. They haven't been able to capitalize on areas where they were initially leaders. So you look at Nvidia's the presentation yesterday, they're talking a lot about silicon photonics. That's really an area that Intel was first to innovate in. And they just haven't been able to capitalize on that. And so I look at Lip Bhutan knowing, again, everyone in the industry. I think he'll be able to pick directions. He'll be able to push Intel to invest in the right places. And so from product strategy perspective, I think he's the best choice. Where I'm concerned is on the fab side of things, which is where the struggle started. They just fell behind TSM. I don't know that they fixed things. And so the problem is you can't separate that manufacturing business from the chip design business. There's no easy way to pull them apart. And it's hard to be competitive on chip design when your manufacturing isn't as good. And I don't know how they get around that. And it may be that 18A, which is their new process, is really good, and so they've got a great guy in terms of product strategy or knowing what products to go into, who's great at execution around products, and that's all they need because they've already fixed the fab side. But I'm not confident there, and I won't be confident until we see their 18A process really ship out chips, and they're good chips, and get a good view into what 14A is going to look like. But I mean, it doesn't matter who you have as a CEO if you can't make the parts competitively.
Hey, Matt. Good morning, and thanks again for being with us. We got boots on the ground in terms of the Nvidia conference, so that's definitely pretty cool. I know this conference stretches over a couple days. Or is there anything else that you're like really paying attention to in the next couple days? I know we got this quantum day, which to me feels like maybe a sell the news and some of the quantum stocks that have run up. That's my first question, and then the second question is Micron also reports this week too. Anything that you're expecting from Micron?
Yeah. So to your first question, other things I'm focused on, I've been meeting with a ton of players in the memory and the storage industry. It certainly feels like that industry, which is particularly memory, struggled the last 2-3 quarters. Right there was too much inventory. It's a commodity industry. When there's too much inventory and not enough demand, pricing falls. It feels like inventory started to get worked down. That because demand from the AI side for HBM is so strong, that's limiting the amount of capacity, so the amount of supply coming on, and that's creating better fundamentals in DRAM. Some cuts that these manufacturers have made on the NAND side are starting to create some constraints in terms of NAND supply. I think memory is getting better. I don't like Micron's told us in February what to expect for February. They also gave us a preview into what they thought their May quarter was going to look like. I wouldn't expect them to deviate from that script, but stepping away from what they say in terms of giving us a financial outlook, I think they're going to sound better around where the industry is versus where it was a quarter ago. And what I'm seeing at least is areas where pricing moves first, like retail pricing, like spot pricing. Pricing's getting better. To your question on the quantum side of things, I don't know what we're going to get. My view is quantum computing is still a bit out. So there's some revenue out there, but that revenue bucket is very small compared to kind of what we're seeing standard servers, certainly what we're seeing in AI servers. And I don't expect that to change anytime soon. And then the other concern, stepping back to federal funding, a lot of what we see with new technology is it shows up in supercomputers at these big labs. And if we're going to cut funding for those projects, and the U.S. traditionally has been the leader in supercomputing spend, I think it's a little bit of a headwind on the quantum side. So not that I'm a quantum skeptic, but in the near term, I think maybe there's a few more headwinds than tailwinds.
With all this data being created and buy all these chips and stuff, they got to go somewhere, right? And you mentioned storage, and so give us a look at some of the stocks you're following in that sector.
Yeah, so you can talk about on the component side. Hard drives are in a great place. We're seeing best margins in the history of the industry for both Seagate and Western Digital. It doesn't look like there's any end to that improvement in pricing that we've seen over the last 3-4 quarters. It looks like demand is steady to higher. So steady on a unit basis, higher on an exabyte basis through this year. I really like both the storage names. I think in the near term we get outperformance from Western Digital. I think with Seagate, I think their new HAMR technology, which allows them to put more capacity in a disk drive, I think it works. I think that story really plays out late 25 and more so 2026. And if it does, they just have a technology advantage versus everyone else in the industry. I think it lasts a couple of years, and that changes this industry, right? You move from a commodity industry where everyone's selling the same product to an industry where there's three players, and they each have they each have different capabilities. Where Seagate's ahead, WD's a little bit behind, and Toshiba's lagging. But when you get that differentiation in an industry that's an oligopoly, it works out best for Seagate because they get a price premium. But I think to some extent it ends up working for everyone in that you just don't have commodity products anymore. Everything isn't exactly interchangeable, and so you get more pricing power. If you look at companies like NetApp and Pure, so now we're talking at the systems level, there, I think Pure is doing some really interesting things. They have some better technology for handling NAND. Historically, they've pretty much sold into the enterprise, been really strong in commercial space, haven't done much with the really large players, so the Microsofts, the Amazons, and Metas of the world. I think that they're beginning to get some traction selling their software capabilities around dealing with NAND. So you saw them announce that they want a hyperscaler. You saw Meta a couple weeks ago talk about using Pure's direct flash modules. I think that's a really strong new revenue opportunity. I think generally they have the best product in the space. So while I'm a little bit worried about, again, these macro headwinds, I think in a 2-3 year time frame that they're a winner, that they just expand their TAM by growing into the cloud, which is an area they haven't really been able to penetrate historically.
Matt Bryson, covering the volatile enterprise hardware sector over there at Wedbush Securities, joining us here. Get to that conference. We'll have you on again soon and talk about things moving forward in this, like I said, volatile sector. Matt Bryson, PreMarket Pro. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
All right, here we go. It's Tesla time. The mute trick, Triple D. You're talking, but we can't hear you.
Have to do it. I'm on mute. It's because I've been coughing in the background. I'll never get rid of this cough. Tesla catches an upgrade from Cantor Fitzgerald. Also, last night, gets some paperwork for the initial part of Robotaxi in California. Up $6. It's getting a nice lift. Very important day for Tesla to not go red because they got lots of good news here today. You know, with the Robotaxi stuff, was already trading up with Cantor coming out and giving it a vote of confidence. It needs to hold green. This is a very important day. I would say if you're leaning on the low of the move, 217, that's where I'd be leaning. Christian, you got any thoughts here, Tesla?
I got to take myself off mute. It's such a battleground stock right now. I'm kind of just sitting here watching it for now. Yeah, so that's basically what I'm doing. I never got to the level. I know some people were getting excited because there was a nice hammer bar. I don't know what chart that's on, Joel, that you got, but there, like on the daily chart, there was a nice.
Yeah, I
hammer
got the
bar.
daily. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I'm watching until it gets above 257.71. That's a technical level for me. I'm not doing anything with it. I'm just watching. But 257.70 is where I'll get back involved. I'll let the price speak to me with all the other stuff going on. And if it gets there, it gets there. If not, it's a hands off for me.
I kind of like that, but I'm gonna go a little bit lower than you. And the reason is it's just old. It's 250, and I know there's like nothing exactly at 250. You know, something at 253, another one 251.84, 251. But just like someone is working a major piece here at 250. So
you got to get above that before you get bullish.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
That's
a big
that's
level.
what I'm. That's a big
Hard
level.
to get
And I
bullish
know.
Tesla below 250.
Yep. And I know yours is you have your VPOC and your different things, but you're looking at. But right when I pulled up that chart, it jumped out to me, and so we'll just keep an eye on that. The 50-day moving average is real up there. Just like Trump's been kind of quiet. Haven't been on Twitter much, but is Elon been kind of quiet too, or is he been a little bit quieter or not?
Is he ever quiet, Joel? I think some people just become numb to the nonstop tweets, that he's just going. So he hasn't said anything maybe offensive in a couple of days. So maybe that's calmed it down a little bit here too. So I mean, that's where we're at with Tesla. You know where I'm at. I've spoken my piece on Tesla a lot of times, and I like your number at 250.
Okay.
So this is it. We've been talking about working in the background for you guys for the last 4 months here. I'm going to share my screen. We're launching a new product right now. I'm going to share my screen. You're going to see it here in a second. You should see the new website, stocktradernetwork.com. This is us. I'm going to play you guys a little video here right now. So let me know if you can see it.
Are you ready to take your trading skills to the next level?
We have decades of experience navigating these markets, and with Stock Trader Network, you'll gain exclusive content offering actionable strategies you won't find anywhere else.
Plus, you'll get to connect with like-minded traders in our exclusive 24/7 chat room, always buzzing with strategies, trade ideas, and trade alerts.
You're asking me my reason for my GM log here in the chat.
You'll get to connect directly with our pro trading hosts, Dennis and Christian. Plus, you'll get to interact with some of our special guests, Todd Gordon, Michael Pachter, Craig Johnson, Ryan Dietrich, and many more.
We got the Brentster. He's watching the news wire. He's breaking the news. You got that hot stock idea? Pitch it to us in the STN chat room.
Stay informed with daily market wrap-ups, exclusive educational articles, and alerts from our swing trades and long-term investments. And don't forget, you'll benefit from our pro trading seminars.
Don't wait to transform your trading career. Join the STN chat room today.
Unlimited ticker time. Let's go.
I'm not sure if it worked great showing that video through StreamYard here, but I'm going to go through the website with you guys just now here. Obviously, we've been talking about people wanted more content. People have been asking me for years for more content. So what we are launching officially here today is a 24/7 chat room where me and Joel obviously aren't going to be in there 24 hours a day. But, I'm going to be in there quite a few hours a day. 7:30 is where I'm planning on anticipating being in there regularly to at least 10 or 10 o'clock at 10:30 every single day. Joel, Christian's going to be involved. Brentster's going to be in there. We've got special guests coming in there. Our idea is to eventually have this room where we're getting all kinds of content all day, building a community of traders where we can actually share our trading ideas, come up with trading ideas, together as a team. So just going through it here, obviously, if you want to join stocktradernetwork.com, you just join the network. So I'll go through it here a little bit with you guys. You get the STN chat room. This is all the kind of stuff you get. You can go to the website. You don't have to see it here too, but it's stocktradernetwork.com. Continuous education. We're always going to be continuing to educate you. We got special guests. And obviously we've got 4 special guests actually lined up for today as well. So this is actually launching right now. This is the official launch. When we get done pre-market prep, Joel and I are heading over there to the STN chat room. Christian's going to join us at 11 o'clock as well. Guests today, we've got Mark Chaikin, we've got Tim Quast, we've got Craig Johnson, we've got also obviously Christian as well. So we're excited here. Joel, you want to add some stuff? If Joel can hear me? Joel, you're on mute. Of course, Joel is on mute. And Joel promises when he's in the STN chat room that he's never, ever going to go on mute again. That's what he promises here.
That I doubt that will happen. No, we've done some educational seminars in the past, so we're going to be including those, which is nearly a $400 value. And I've just thought, over the years when we've done things, we've done the hour with Benzinga, and that's with the markets closed. Or I mean, there is pre-market trading. But there's so much that happens, when the actual true liquidity comes in. I know we were one of the first to focus on the pre-market. But once things happen, once the order flow comes in at 9:30, and there's also economic numbers at 9:45 and 10 o'clock, Fed meetings and things like that. We never provided our insight in that. And then also Dennis, as you all know, he does not do a ton of intraday trading. He uses that to analyze his swing trading and his long-term portfolio. So, taking it out of just like the short-term trading, letting to see what's going on. Let the market, like we're giving you our information based on the pre-market trading and the prep we do the night before. But once the market opens, it's like it's a whole new. There's an oasis out there, and we're going to cover that for you. And especially if you're in there with your stocks, and we've been ticker time and unlimited ticker time, like we said. So we're going to have some guests stopping by today. We're going to have Mark Chaikin coming in at 10 o'clock. Christian's going to pop in at 11. Tim Quas is going to join us for a little bit. And then everyone loves Craig Johnson, right? Well, we got a Fed meeting at 2 o'clock, and then we got Craig Johnson coming on at 2:30, and he'll come in with his analysis. So that's what we got for you, folks. The long-awaited launch of the stock trade. Took us a lot of
Yeah.
time to get that name. That was but
It
that's
was a
it.
hard name to find. I mean, on the web, there's a lot of things that are gone. So stocktradernetwork.com is what we found. I'm just going to continue to show you inside the room. So you should be able to see inside the room right now. The cool thing is we've got this all set up. The pre-market prep launches into this room every single day. So if you're not subscribed, you can still watch pre-market prep as you regularly do on YouTube. But if you are subscribed, you can just come join us in the room at 7:30. We're going to be in there. We'll be in there actually in the STN room, which you're looking at inside right now, setting up the show. So you'll actually participate in what we're going to talk about on pre-market prep. We'll be talking about, because we always have the pre-market show that we always joke about. You'll actually be able to be part of that. So if you join the room, you'll be able to come in the chat room here, and it just, launched just now, to be able to come in here and talk about, what we're going to talk about on the show. Pitch your ideas. Like, oh, I didn't see that. Thanks. We'll talk about that on the show. So you're going to be part of that as well. And then after the show, we go right back into it. Me and Joel will be taking you through the open every single day. So, we'll be talking the imbalances and how I'm trading the open, how I'm focusing in and out of different stocks, and then also at 3:30 and 4 o'clock, I'm planning on staying on from 3 to 5, where I'm actually going to be talking, after hours trading and breaking news. So, if you're subscribed to a bunch of news stuff, we're going to be breaking a lot of that news for you, and maybe you don't have to. Also, as a bonus here, if you subscribe in the next week, because I know people are saying $200 a month, for some people, we want to give a discount to our pre-market prep listeners. So if you use the code when you're signing up here, and you can sign up here right now, PMPSTN. If you use that code, you'll get another $20 off. So you're $179 a month, which is very comparable, actually on the cheap side, to some of the other chat rooms that are out there. So we're coming in and working for you for a lot of hours here. And we're hoping to build a community here. The idea is to come in here, build a community, try this out. So if you're interested, you can join us here right now. When the show gets done, me and Joel are heading over there. Christian's going to be over there at 11 o'clock here today. So we're going to go over and trade the open with you today. So if you're interested, you can sign up right now.
And we'll talk about this Williams-Sonoma.
Williams-Sonoma. We're going to talk about a lot of cooler things than Williams-Sonoma. We'll be looking at it, opening imbalances here, like Bank of America, 160,000 to sell. Walmart, 69,000 to sell. We give some of this information on pre-market prep, but pre-market prep ends at 9 o'clock. NASDAQ imbalances don't even come out till 9:25, so we can give you all that information too. So the whole idea here is to come in and obviously, just, give you guys more information, make you better traders. I'll have trade alerts on my long-term trades. I'll have trade alerts on my swing trades. Sometimes you guys are going to be talking me into trades. I'm like, I'll take that trade. So, we'll be posting those.
Trades. That's why
or talk me out of trades, and that's what we want the good community for it too. So anyways, this is what we're trying to do here. So hopefully, a few of you guys come over here and join us. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And there is and people asking, there is a free trial. So you can sign up right now with your code, cancel before the 7 days ends, and you won't be billed. So you can come in right now just to check it out for a free trial. 7 days. Joel, stop talking.
Well, no, I was just I was just trying to remember our guest for tomorrow. Jim Tassoni is going to be joining us, and he's had a cautious outlook on the market. And Jim will be another person that will be joining us at times again in Stock Trader Network. It starts today. We'll see you guys there in just a few minutes.